boss, CEO, manager, whatever the title is, there is a responsibility for those who lead. And if they're not cutting it at the top, well, that only trickles down to those that work for you. So our favorite business coaches, Peg Burley and Pete McDowell of Action Coach Columbus, here with advice for anyone trying to run a successful business, which I would hope would be everyone trying to run a business.
Yes,
right?
let's hope so. Let's hope so. Yes.
All right, this is our second part. We're really talking about kind of leadership lessons for people to learn. The first situation we want to talk about is a rapidly growing company in Dallas. And you mentioned that you often do work with companies that are growing at a rapid pace, right?
They've been on this pace of 30% growth for 5 years. And it causes good problems, right? More profit and things like that. But it also causes some stress at times. And this business owner in particular, we hired a couple of key employees, and he had gotten into the habit of just going back to sell, because that's what he loves, and leaving this manager to figure out how to run the operations on his own. And we've tightened things up a little bit now, where we've got some communication going on between this great leader who loves to sell and is out of the office most of the time, and this younger manager who is now developing and working with all the people in the office to grow them. So the second gentleman is now taking over more of a leadership role instead of a doer. He's managing more. And he's making sure that he keeps the boss informed by sending him an email with just some bullet points, because he's also a very short attention span person.
Right.
And he gives them very quick snippets of, here's what we're shipping next week, here's who we're training this week, here's a person I hired in this area. So make sure that the gentleman who's out in the field knows exactly what's going on. Because he was getting frustrated, but he hadn't called in himself to check.
The owner was getting
The owner.
frustrated.
And that's, giving him the cliff notes, worked for them.
Yeah.
And you say it really is about creating a system, right? That's the lesson here.
For them, it works. That particular system, for those two people, works really well.
And before that, it wasn't. They were talking about parting ways because the owner doesn't think that the manager's doing anything because there's no loophole of system of feedback.
Right. There was no communication.
Right.
And that,
not
they
enough.
dropped the ball.
Right.
All right. Next scenario, Peg, this one from a business owner running a large firm with a couple hundred employees. And that can be difficult too, right? Having to manage so many different people and personalities.
Correct. And so one of the things that you'll see as a manager, as a leader, that we do a lot of feedback surveys. We call them 360s. And almost always we hear, I want to see the leader more. I want more of his time or her time. And very common. So what we did in this case is, this leader is great, but they're going to be retiring. And they have to not only download all of their knowledge, but they also still need to lead because they're not gone yet. So we're going to go back to the system again, is if I'm going to challenge you listening here of, have you created a spreadsheet? Even if you have a couple hundred, have you created a spreadsheet and monitored how many times you've touched each person? In other words, I've had a meeting with this person, or I sat down for 10 minutes for this person, I had a coffee and
Taught something.
Right. Left that knowledge, right?
Left the knowledge. And the biggest thing here is, as a leader and a person that has impact on a lot of people, we tend to go to people we're comfortable with or used to going with, and you might hear you show favorites. It's very common because I'm going to go to Robin, because Robin and I have been talking, we're working on a project, but I miss Sally. And Sally is feeling, that, hey, what about me? Creating just a spreadsheet of how many times you're meeting with people is very important in understanding what we're downloading, because what gets tracked and measured gets done.
And I want to let people know the real, I guess, lesson here is to put a value on it too. If that's important to you, do it. And I want to, before we go, have a couple of warnings. These are kind of for anybody leading. And I think these are ones that immediately I saw and said, man, do I know a few people have done that in my time, right? I mean, in the corporate world, right?
Wasn't one of us.
The first thing you want to avoid, you say, is a blanket statement, right? Is sending out that email that says, everyone needs to be on time because one person keeps showing up late, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's a suggestion. That's one of the things we want to focus on the positive. The focus on the positive is, if there's a problem with an employee, go to that employee.
Okay.
Go to that employee's supervisor and talk to them. Don't shoot an email out to 50 employees and say, you're late all the time.
Right.
Because really, it discourages the folks that are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
And the other person can kind of skate a little bit.
Okay. All right, we got you. The second thing you say to avoid is your lack of knowledge as a leader, right? Don't really show that? Is that what you're saying, that you have that?
Well, we're saying is you as a leader, whatever you're seeing your team do is a reflection of you.
Oh, gotcha.
It's
gotcha,
a reflection of you. So whenever you're seeing behavior or knowledge as an absence, then look in the mirror and say, what is it I need to do?
So you need to own it.
You need to own
right?
it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
As a leader. All right, guys.
Absolutely.
We've got obviously just a few tips today.
Yes,
We
we
always
did.
get more when Peg and Pete come. So if you want to learn more about what they do, how they can help your business, it is actioncoachcolumbus.com. Both the phone numbers up there as well. Thanks, guys, for
Thanks,
being here.
Robin.
Thanks, Robin.